A$AP Rocky reportedly collapsed in court after Rihanna revealed disturbing details about their relationship. Some reports claim things turned violent after he went crazy over her recent sexualized photos. But it gets even worse when you realize this may not be the first time Rihanna has gone through something, music, like this. Let me break it down. The night that changed everything. On the evening of November 6, 2021, two men who once called each other brothers stood on a Hollywood street corner, and what happened between them would take over 3 years to resolve. A$AP Rocky, born Raheem Mayers, was eventually arrested by LAPD officers on April 20th. Music 2022, upon arriving at Los Angeles International Airport after vacation with his partner, Rihanna. He was arrested for a potential assault music with a deadly weapon in a shooting that took place in Hollywood on November 6, 2021. The shooting victim, who survived the incident with only a graze to his knuckle, was reported music to be former friend and collaborator Terrell Efron, better known as ASAP Music Rocky. The arrest itself was dramatic. Rocky had just stepped off a private jet from Barbados with Rihanna. Officers were waiting. Cameras caught every second, and suddenly, one half of the most talked about couple in entertainment was being booked on suspicion of assault with a deadly weapon. Rocky, whose legal name is Raheem Athalaston Mayers, could get up to 24 years in prison if he convicted of 2 felony counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm. 24 years for a father of 2 young children, for a man whose partner is one of the most famous women on the planet. Music Relly, born Terrell Efron, said he and Rocky, members of AP, a crew of creators in New York high school, had been close, but their relationship eroded after. Rocky became famous. This wasn't a dispute between strangers. This was a falling out between childhood friends from Harlem. Members of the same crew, the ASAP mob, had built something together from nothing, a collective of rappers, producers, and creatives who came up from the streets of New York City. And now one of them was accusing the other of pulling a gun and pulling the trigger. He, Music, testified that Mayers brandished a firearm outside the parking garage and threatened, Music, "I'll kill you right now." Efron said he dared Mayers to follow through, and that Mayers eventually fired an initial shot that grazed his hand about a block away. He said Mayers fired 2 or 3 more times, Music, before fleeing the scene. That was Relly's version. Rocky's side told a different story entirely. Rocky's attorney, Joe Tacopina, maintained that the gun was a starter pistol that only fired blanks. He claimed Rocky carried it as a prop for security reasons. 2 other AAP mob members testified that Mayers got the prop gun, Music, from the DMB music video he shot with his superstar partner, Rihanna, in July 2021. The friend, Music, said the prop gun only fired blanks. A real gun versus a prop gun, a shooting versus blanks, a victim versus someone who allegedly destroyed evidence. Music. This was the central question that would consume a Los Angeles courtroom for 3 weeks in early 2025. On January 8, 2024, Mayers entered a plea of not guilty, turning down a plea bargain of 6 months in jail, Music, and risking a maximum sentence of over 20 years in prison. Rocky refused every deal put in front of him. From our side, we have no interest in a settlement. My client has indicated he's not willing to take anything. His attorney, Tacopina, told the court this was a man betting his freedom on the belief that the truth would set him free, or it was a gamble that could cost him 2 decades behind bars and leave Rihanna raising their children alone. To understand why the public was so fixated on Rihanna's presence in that courtroom, you have to go back to February 2009, back to a night that left scars, visible and invisible, on one of the biggest pop stars the world has ever known. Music. At around 12:30 a.m. On February 8, 2009, Brown and his then-girlfriend, singer Rihanna, had an argument which escalated into physical violence, leaving Rihanna with visible facial injuries which require hospitalization. Chris Brown, Music, the man she loved, the man she trusted, attacked her in a rented Lamborghini on the eve of the Grammy Awards. Officers at the scene observed numerous contusions and abrasions to the victim's face and forehead, as well as bruising to her left arm near the bicep. They also saw abrasions to her arms near both wrists and on her upper chest near her collarbone and around her neck. There were abrasions on her left leg and on the inside of her upper lips. "He beat me up," Rihanna told the police. 3 words that said everything. Days later, a gruesome police photo of Rihanna leaked to the media, and it showed her with a bruised, scratched face and a split lip. That music image, Rihanna's swollen, battered face, became one of the most recognizable photographs in the history of celebrity culture. It was seared into the collective consciousness. It represented every woman who had ever been told he didn't mean it, or she must have done something. It represented the truth about what happens behind closed doors, even when those doors belong to mansions. On June 22, 2009, Brown pleaded guilty to a felony and accepted a plea deal of community labor, 5 years of probation, and domestic violence counseling. The legal consequences for Brown were, by many accounts, minimal. Several organizations against domestic violence criticized the plea deal, advocating the punishment was not severe enough for the crime. Years later, Rihanna spoke candidly about what that experience did to her. In an extremely emotional interview with ABC News in November 2009, Rihanna opened up about the abuse she sustained during her relationship with Brown. The singer explained that she felt embarrassed when people found out that she was an A. Relationship with him. The emotional weight of those words cannot be overstated. This was a woman in her early 20s, one of the most powerful voices in music, admitting to the world that she felt shame, not because of what she had done, but because of what had been done to her. Elaborating on the same, she shared, "All I kept thinking was, when is it going to stop? The more in love we became, the more dangerous we became for each other, equally as dangerous." CNN obtained a probation report for Brown that says the pair were involved in at least 2 other domestic violence incidents before the February attack, for which Brown was sentenced. Music. It wasn't just one night. It was a pattern. A cycle of violence that escalated until the whole world could see the evidence on Rihanna's face. So when Rihanna walked into that Los Angeles courtroom in January 2025 to sit beside her current partner, a man facing felony gun charges, the symbolism was unavoidable. Here was a woman whose bruises had been shown to the world once before. A woman who had sat in rooms with judges and lawyers, and police reports and restraining orders. A woman who knew what courtrooms felt like from the worst possible vantage point. This time she was there by choice. This time she was there for the man she loved, and the world was watching to see if history would repeat itself, or if the story would end differently. With the aftermath of the Los Angeles wildfires as a dramatic backdrop, A$AP Rocky's criminal trial over charges he fired shots at his former friend, A$AP Rocky, on a Hollywood, California street 3 years ago, remained on track to start. The timing was almost cinematic in its bleakness. A city recovering from devastation, and one of its most prominent residents stepping into a courtroom where his entire future hung in the balance. In a departure from typical practices in LA County courts, the judge allowed cameras to record almost the entirety of the trial. That decision transformed proceedings from a legal matter into a public spectacle. Every facial expression, every whisper exchange, every moment between Rocky and Rihanna, all of it was broadcast to the world to dissect and analyze. Music. Rihanna made her first appearance at the Los Angeles trial of her partner. The singer-superstar on Wednesday morning sat out of view of the courtroom's cameras next to Rocky's mother and sister in the downtown Los Angeles criminal courthouse. Security brought her into the courtroom surreptitiously to avoid crowds. She didn't want the attention. She wanted to be there for him. And that distinction matters. The superstar singer, who shares 2 young sons with mayors, Music, attended 7 days of trial sitting in a front row seat. 7 days. 7 days of sitting on hard wooden benches, listening to testimony about gunfire and shell casings and blood and threats. 7 days of watching the father of her children face the prospect Music of 24 years in a cage on Valentine's Day. Rihanna sat with Mayers during another break, gently caressing his cheek while the couple sat on a courtroom bench surrounded by beefy security guards. In the middle of a trial that could end his life as he knew it, there was this impossibly tender moment. A woman touching the face of the man she loves, reassuring him without words that she wasn't going anywhere. Music. Speaking with Rolling Stone after the verdict, Taco Pina said Mayers tried to keep Rihanna away, but she wouldn't music agree. He wanted to protect her, but she spoke to me and said, "Joe, I know he doesn't want me there, but I'm music coming. That's my partner." Meanwhile, the prosecution was building its case, and they didn't want the jury thinking about Rihanna at all. Lewin said it would be misconduct if jurors got into the deliberation room, and acquitted Mayers out of concern for what might happen to his family. You are not allowed to consider how this might affect Rihanna or his kids. On Thursday, she walked in with the couple's 2 toddler sons while the prosecution was starting its summation. The timing was either coincidental or strategic, depending on who you ask. 2 little boys, oblivious to the gravity of what was happening, walking into a room where their father's freedom was being debated. The defense hammered relentlessly on Relly's credibility. In his final comments, lead defense lawyer Joe Taco Pina branded alleged victim A.P. Relly a pathological liar, perjurer, and an extortionist. Relly's credibility took a massive hit during the criminal trial, especially after he admitted to deleting text messages. According to the outlet, jurors apparently heard that Relly asked for a $30 million settlement from Rocky to sidestep another lawsuit. Jurors additionally reportedly heard a recorded phone call of Relly telling his friend that he would use the money to run away to a tropical island and that the money would dissuade him from testifying in the criminal trial. Taco Pina explained to jurors that that equaled extortion. The prosecution pushed back, insisting the focus should remain on the evidence, not the victim's character. Relly, in a lot of ways, was a very problematic victim. He's not very sympathetic. I'm not here to get you to like Relly, to get you to say Relly deserves $30 million. Argued, they have put Relly on trial in this case because in the end, he is a very convenient target. Neither the prop gun nor the alleged genuine firearm were. Produced music at trial. Was it a real gun or was it a fake gun? Deputy District Attorney Paul Prizialami said, "Nothing else is in dispute. That was the entire case distilled into a single question, a question that 12 jurors would have to answer." Rocky, born Rakeem Mayers, stood calmly in a pinstripe suit as jurors filed in for the verdict. After only 3 hours of deliberation, 3 hours after 3 weeks of testimony, hundreds of exhibits, and years of legal proceedings, music, 3 hours. Rocky was more than 30 minutes late for the reading of the verdict and looked shaking and tense as he waited for the clerk to read it. The weight of everything, the charges, the potential sentence, the family he might be torn from, it was all visible on his face. This wasn't the swaggering fashion icon or the charismatic rapper. This was a man standing at the edge of a cliff, waiting to find out if he'd fall. His superstar partner, Rihanna, sat in the front row next to his sister, Erica B., and bowed her head as the clerk read the decision. She couldn't watch. Music. The woman who had once had her own bruises photographed and leaked to the world, who had sat in rooms where her own pain was dissected music and debated, she bowed her head and prayed. Then the words came, "Not music, guilty." As soon as the first not guilty verdict was announced, Rocky dove over a short gallery wall and fell into Rihanna's lap, hugging her as she embraced him with her eyes closed. He didn't walk. He didn't wait for permission. He launched himself over the barrier that separated the defense table from the gallery and collapsed into the arms of the woman who had refused to leave his side. The Los Angeles courtroom, full of fans and family, exploded into celebration as Rocky leapt from a defense table over a barrier and into the gallery, where Rihanna sat between his mother, Renee Black, and sister, Erica B. Mayers. They embraced and sobbed. "I didn't know how athletic he was," Rocky's lawyer, Joe Taco Pina, told reporters outside the courthouse. "That was raw emotion. You guys got to see that." There was a moment when, before we heard the words from the clerk, he didn't know if he was going to be spending the next 2 decades in jail or going home. Taco Pina said, "The jury took a little more than 3 hours to determine there wasn't enough evidence to convict." Music. The prosecution's case, built on the testimony of a man the defense had systematically dismantled, crumbled under its own weight. The rapper then hugged his lawyers and addressed the jurors as they departed, telling them, "Thank you all for saving my life. First of all, I gotta thank God. We want to thank God first. You know what I'm saying? Rocky told the press. And I really want to thank the jury for making the right decision. I'm just so thankful. This is crazy right now. This whole experience has been crazy for the past 4 years, but I'm thankful nonetheless. I'm thankful and blessed to be here right now, to be a free man, talking to y'all. Rihanna shared her gratitude online. Music. The glory belongs to God and God alone. Thankful, humbled by his mercy. In a new interview with Variety, Rocky talked about what it was like sitting in the courtroom for his gun assault trial in February, calling the experience gut-wrenching and nerve-wracking. The district attorney's office acknowledged the result. District Attorney Nathan Hochman released a statement saying his office remains committed to seeking accountability, even when defendants are famous. While today's verdict is not the outcome we sought, we respect the jury's decision and the integrity of our justice system. The civil case that followed told its own story. A $1 Rocky and Terrell A.P. Efron were facing off in court once again, with Los Angeles judge scheduling their civil trial for January 12, 2026. But that battle never materialized. A.P. Relly officially dropped his assault lawsuit against A.P. Rocky over claims that the rapper shot him in 2021. Through his lawyer, Aaron Morris, Relly told Billboard that he is focusing on rebuilding his life. At this point, he's ready to simply move on from the shooting, Morris told the magazine. The ordeal has been a nightmare for him, and the statements calling him a liar and worse effectively eliminated his chances of a career in the industry. And just like that, the legal saga that began on a Hollywood street corner in November 2021 was over. With the courtroom behind them, Rocky and Rihanna moved forward in the way they always have, together and on their own terms. The court ruling came the same day the artist and his partner, Rihanna, publicly announced they're expecting their third child together. He was a co-chair of the Met Gala in Manhattan Monday night, where he and Rihanna announced they're expecting their third child. From the depths of a criminal trial to the heights of the Met Gala, the whiplash was extraordinary. He's also starring in the new Spike Lee movie, Highest to Lowest, opposite Denzel Washington. Don't Be Dumb was released on January 16, 2026, featuring guest contributions from Brent Faiyaz, Danny Elfman, Dua Lipa, Gorillaz, Sauce Walka, Slay Squad, Thundercat, Tyler, The Creator, Westside Gunn, and Will. Among others. His fourth album, Don't Be Dumb, debuted atop the Billboard 200 chart. They share 3 children, sons Arzia and Riot Rose, music, and their daughter, Rocky, born in 2025. The family that nearly lost its foundation to a courtroom verdict was growing. Then in April 2026, music. Rihanna did what Rihanna does. She broke the internet. Rihanna turned up the heat by teasing Savage Summer in a striking new Savage x Fenty lingerie drop, posing in a floral bra, thong, and garter set. She shared the photos on Instagram with the caption, Savage Summer Loading, and music. The post garnered over 3 million likes, 36K comments, and 64K music reposts. The photos were provocative, unapologetic, music, and unmistakably Rihanna, and they immediately set the internet ablaze. Not just because of the images themselves, but because people wanted to know how Rocky would react. After everything they'd been through, the trial, the media scrutiny, the constant public examination of their relationship, with the man who just fought Rihanna posing for her own Savage x Fenty lingerie brand, AAP Rocky kept it short. Her body, her choice, and that is not for him to control. Her body, her choice. That's not for me to control. 5 words. No jealousy, no possessiveness, no drama. In an era where celebrity relationships are dissected, for any sign of toxicity, where the public desperately searches for cracks in every love story, Rocky did the one thing nobody music expected. He showed complete and unbothered security in who he is and who Rihanna is. The moment quickly spread across social media, with fans celebrating Rocky's response as a rare example of a high-profile partner letting a woman own her narrative without interference or ego. Rihanna built Savage x Fenty from the ground up, a lingerie empire rooted in inclusivity, body confidence, and unapologetic femininity. Music. Savage x Fenty, launched in 2018, redefined the lingerie space by offering sizes from XS to 4XL and centering diverse bodies in every music campaign. This is her business, her vision, her empire, and Rocky understood that not as a concession, music, but as a fundamental truth about the woman he chose to build a life with. And that's where the real story lands. The title of this video suggests chaos, a collapse, bruises, courtroom drama. And there was drama, real and significant. Rocky did collapse into the arms of the woman he loves after hearing the words "not guilty." Rihanna's history with bruises is real and devastating. But those bruises came from a different man, in a different time, in a different courtroom. The bruises she carries now are invisible, the kind that come from sitting through a 3-week trial, wondering if the father of your children will come home. What actually happened is more interesting than any clickbait. Headline: A man faced down 24 years in prison and walked free. A woman who once had her battered face shown to the entire world